Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be diving into the world of Shipt.
Ooh, Shipt.
Yeah, you know that grocery delivery service?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it.
We're seeing if it really lives up to all the hype.
Okay.
Is it a solid side hustle or is it all, just kind of smoke and mirrors?
Right.
And our source material for this deep dive is this book called 1,000 Ways to Hustle.
Interesting.
And they have a surprisingly in-depth chapter all about Shipt.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to really unpack how it works if you're a Shipt shopper.
Okay.
What kind of money you can actually make.
Yeah.
And just generally, is it all it's cracked up to be? All the good, the bad, the ugly.
Right.
The truth about Shipt hustling.
I'm excited to dive in.
Me too. So the book jumps right into this whole independent contractor thing.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. It talks a lot about how being an independent contractor at Shipt, you get that flexibility, but you're also responsible for handling your own expenses, paying your own taxes, all that stuff.
So there's no guaranteed hourly rate or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. No guaranteed income. You're paid per order that you complete.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's a little bit more high risk, high reward kind of a thing right off the bat.
Yeah, for sure. Right from the start.
Okay, so it's not just driving around listening to podcasts all day, which I kind of thought it was.
No.
What exactly does a Shipt shopper do? What's the actual job description?
Yeah, so basically think of yourself as a personal shopper, but for, mainly Target.
Okay.
But also for other stores. So you're selecting the groceries, communicating with the customer about replacements if things are out of stock, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then obviously delivering it all right to their door.
So there's a customer service element to it too.
Exactly, yeah.
Which, I guess that makes sense, right? People are paying for the convenience.
For sure.
But let's be real for a second.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know about the money.
Right.
What's the earning potential?
Yeah, that's where it gets a little complex.
Okay.
The book says Shipt uses an algorithm, to calculate how much each shopper gets paid.
Oh, okay.
And it's not totally transparent.
Gotcha.
So it takes into account, your effort, the size of the order, the distance you have to drive, even the specific store you're shopping at.
Wow.
But here's the real kicker. Tips are huge, really big.
Oh, okay.
And you keep 100% of them.
Wow. Okay.
So making those customers happy isn't just a nice to have.
Right.
It's essential for actually making good money.
That makes sense. So a bigger order automatically means more pay then, right?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
The book really stresses this idea of calculating your dollars per hour.
Yeah.
Not just looking at the payout for one single order.
Oh, okay.
So a small order could actually pay really well for the time it takes you to complete it. While a giant order, maybe they got a whole week's worth of groceries and you have to drive 20 miles outside of your zone, you might actually make less per hour on that.
Interesting.
So it's all about being strategic.
Okay. So there's a lot more strategy involved than I initially thought.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of strategy, the book kept mentioning the Shipt app.
Oh, yeah.
What's the deal with that? Why is that so important?
So the app is basically your command center,
Okay.
It's how you accept orders, see the shopping list. You can message the customer directly through the
That's
app.
cool.
It has navigation, getting you to the store, getting you to their house.
Okay.
And then also it's where you track all your earnings.
So it's pretty important.
It's super important.
Yeah.
Yeah, the book even recommends spending some time in the app, really getting to know it inside and out.
Okay.
Before you even take your first order.
Smart.
You can even practice in a demo mode, I guess.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you don't mess up someone's order on your first try.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
But back to those orders for a second. How do you get them? Is it a free-for-all? You just see them and you got to grab them?
So there's two main types of orders that you'll see pop up in the app. The first one is called Open Metro. And that is basically a first come, first served system.
Oh, okay.
So orders pop up and anyone who's, in that zone, they can try and grab it.
Okay.
And it can get pretty competitive.
Oh, really?
Especially during peak times.
Like a digital Wild West out there.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
What's the other type of order?
The other one's called offers. And those are based on your performance as a shopper. So if you have good ratings, you're completing orders on time, customers are happy with you.
Okay.
You'll start getting these personalized offers.
Oh, cool.
which are usually like higher paying orders
Oh, okay.
and less likely to get like, snatched up by someone else. So it pays to be a good Shipt shopper, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm guessing it's not all sunshine on roses though, right?
Right.
What are some of the like downsides or challenges that the book mentions about being a Shipt shopper?
One of the things that kind of jumped out to me was, the importance of insurance.
Okay.
Because as an independent contractor, you are responsible for, your own coverage
Gotcha.
in case you get into like an accident or something while you're working.
Yeah.
Or like damage to your car, anything like that.
Makes sense.
And then, of course, there's the whole self-employment tax situation.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You have to set aside money for taxes and be prepared to file like quarterly.
So good record keeping is key then.
Definitely. Yeah.
What about like other challenges? Is it actually as competitive as it sounds like it is?
Yeah, it can be really fierce, that competition.
Okay.
Especially in areas where there's like a lot of shoppers already,
Yeah.
like a densely populated area.
Right.
That's where, being strategic with like order selection and knowing your market and all that becomes even more important.
Right. Yeah.
And you might have to be flexible with your hours, working like evenings or weekends when the demand is higher.
Okay. So there is a definite hustle involved in this side hustle.
Oh, yeah.
But let's assume for a minute you've got the app down.
Okay.
You figured out the insurance and tax stuff.
Yep.
And you're like ready to start shopping.
Okay.
What are the keys to really maximizing your earnings besides obviously, being nice to people?
Well, that's where we get into the art of order selection, I guess you could say. It's all about efficiency and really understanding that dollars per hour concept we were talking about.
Okay.
So the book recommends like really scrutinizing the order details page in the app before you accept anything.
Okay. What kind of details are we talking about here?
So you'll see the payout, obviously,
Sure.
but also the store location. They give you like a preview of the shopping list.
Oh, cool.
The delivery window.
Yeah.
Any special instructions from the customer, like, leave it at the back door, things like that.
Gotcha.
So all of that helps you assess, like, is this order actually worth your time and effort?
Right.
Like, for example, a big order with like a high payout.
Yeah.
That sounds great on the surface.
Yeah.
But if it involves driving like 20 miles outside of your usual zone,
Yeah.
it might not actually be that profitable once you factor in gas and time and all that stuff.
Right.
So it's like this puzzle almost.
Yeah.
Trying to find those sweet spot orders, the ones that pay well,
Yeah.
keep you in a profitable zone.
Yeah. I'm starting to understand why the book calls this a hustle,
Yeah.
It's more than just showing up and shopping.
Exactly. And there's actually another layer to this whole efficiency puzzle.
Okay.
Bundling orders.
Bundling. What's that?
So sometimes you'll get lucky
Right.
and you'll see multiple orders in the app that are all from the same store and going to, relatively nearby locations.
Okay.
That's your chance to really like boost your earnings
Gotcha.
by completing multiple deliveries like in one go.
Okay.
Sometimes Shipt's system will actually bundle them for you automatically.
Oh, nice.
But you can also look for opportunities to do it yourself by being strategic about which orders you accept.
So it's like you're creating your own little delivery route,
Yeah, exactly.
but maximizing your time on the road.
Yep.
I can see how that would make a big difference in how much money you make.
Absolutely. And speaking of maximizing earnings, we can't forget about the customer service aspect.
Right. We talked about how tips are like crucial.
Yeah.
But what are some like tangible things that you can do to create that amazing customer experience
Yeah.
that leads to those big tips?
Right.
It seems like the book had a lot of advice on that.
Yeah, they had a lot to say.
All right, well let's dig into that then. What are some of the things that they recommend doing?
Well, first and foremost, communication is key.
Mm.
The book really emphasizes this idea of sending like a friendly introductory text
Okay.
to the customer as soon as you accept the order.
Gotcha.
Just, let them know you're on the job, you're ready to shop for them.
Okay.
It establishes that connection right away.
Makes sense. What else?
Be proactive about substitutions.
Okay.
So if an item's out of stock, don't just, tell the customer, oh, sorry, it's not available.
Right.
Like suggest a similar item, maybe even send a photo of the options through the app.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, it shows you're thinking ahead,
Mhm.
You're trying to make their life easier.
So it's not just about like completing the task. It's about providing like a truly helpful service.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. What about like when you arrive at the delivery location? Any tips for that final interaction?
The book suggests, like, taking the time to organize the groceries neatly, especially if, they're being left unattended,
Right.
which happens a lot.
Right.
No one wants to come home to, like, a jumbled mess of bags on their porch.
That's so thoughtful, though. Like,
Oh.
that's a really good point. It's those little things that can make a difference.
Absolutely.
But let's go back to this idea of like building relationships with customers.
Okay.
Because the book mentioned something about a member match system.
Oh, right.
Even though it's not an official Shipt feature, like it's not built into the app or anything.
Right.
What's that all about?
Yeah. So that's basically like the holy grail of Shipt shopping.
Okay.
Getting customers to specifically request you for their future orders.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there's no like guaranteed way to do it.
Right.
But it all comes down to, consistently providing that exceptional service.
So it's like becoming their trusted grocery guru.
Exactly.
I can see how that would lead to more orders and potentially like even higher pips if they know you and they like you.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. What are like some strategies for achieving that member match status?
It really is all about going above and beyond, like those basic expectations.
Okay.
So maybe you remember like a customer's preference for a specific brand of yogurt.
Right.
Or you always make sure to select the ripest avocados.
Okay. Yeah.
It's those little touches
Yeah.
that show you're paying attention. You genuinely care about their experience.
Because you're building a mini business within a business.
Totally, yeah.
Creating your own little loyal customer base. That's pretty impressive for like a gig economy job.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's shift gears a little bit and talk about some more like strategic aspects of Shipt shopping.
Okay.
Because the book mentioned learning peak times and zones.
Oh, yeah.
What exactly does that mean?
So that's all about working smarter, not harder.
Okay.
By figuring out when and where the most orders are coming in.
Okay.
You can like position yourself to capitalize on those opportunities.
So rather than just logging in whenever you have free time,
Right.
It's more strategic to be like online and ready to shop during those busy periods.
Exactly. It's like supply and demand, but with groceries.
Yeah, I get it. Are those peak times and zones like the same everywhere, or does it depend on, where you live?
Oh, it definitely varies.
Okay.
Like a college town, for example, might have peak times around, student move-in days.
Oh, right.
Or exam weeks.
Makes sense.
Or a suburban area, might see a surge in orders on weeknights when families are busy with after-school activities and things.
So you need to like become a Shipt anthropologist, basically.
Yeah.
Studying the shopping habits of your local tribe.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk about something that no one really enjoys, but it's part of the gig economy landscape, ratings. How important are those for Shipt shoppers?
They're incredibly important.
Okay.
Like your rating is basically your reputation within the Shipt ecosystem.
Yeah.
So a high rating means you're more likely to get offered, the best orders.
Right.
Whereas a low rating can really limit your earning potential.
Oh, wow.
And the book even says that Shipt's algorithm takes ratings into account
Oh, wow.
when it's deciding like which shoppers to offer orders to.
So it's not just about like customer satisfaction, it's about your ability to even get work.
Yeah, exactly.
That's high stakes.
Yeah.
So how do you maintain a high rating? Is it just about like avoiding mistakes?
It's about consistently exceeding expectations, I think.
Okay.
So that means, clear communication,
Yeah.
accurate shopping, timely deliveries, and all those little touches of personalized service we were talking about.
Right.
But even one bad rating can drag down your average.
Oh, wow.
So it's important to be mindful of every interaction you have.
It sounds like you need to be like on your A game at all times.
Yeah, pretty much.
No pressure. But speaking of pressure, let's talk about one of the more intense strategies that the book mentions, multi-apping.
Oh, yeah.
What is the deal with that?
So that's the idea of using multiple like delivery apps
Okay.
at the same time.
Wow.
So like juggling orders from Shipt and Instacart and DoorDash
Okay.
all simultaneously.
Wow.
And it can be a way to like, maximize your time on the road, potentially increase your earnings,
Right.
but it's definitely not for everyone.
It sounds like it would require a like superhuman level of organization.
Yeah.
What are the risks of multi-apping?
I think the biggest risk is spreading yourself too thin and making mistakes.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, missed deadlines, wrong items,
Right.
frustrated customers, even, accidents due to distractions.
Right.
All those become more likely when you're trying to juggle multiple apps and orders at once.
Yeah.
And the book really stresses that, multi-apping should only be attempted by experienced drivers who are incredibly organized and efficient.
Okay. So not something to jump into lightly.
Definitely not.
The extreme sport of the gig economy.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's move on to something a little less intense.
Okay.
What about building relationships with store staff?
Oh, well,
how important is that for a Shipt shopper?
It's not as crucial as customer service, obviously.
Right.
But having a good rapport with the employees at the store you frequent can definitely be helpful. It's not about getting preferential treatment or anything.
Okay.
It's more about those little things that can save you time and hassle.
Like what kind of things?
So imagine you're searching for a specific item and you just can't find it.
Right.
A friendly face at the customer service desk might be able to quickly locate it for you.
Okay.
Or tell you when they expect a new shipment. Those little interactions can make a big difference in your efficiency.
So it's about building a sense of community within the store.
Yeah.
Recognizing that, everyone is kind of part of the same ecosystem.
Totally.
Okay, last but not least, the book mentions something that might seem obvious, but it's worth highlighting. Optimizing your phone and your data plan.
Oh, yeah.
Why is that so important for Shipt shoppers?
Well, I mean, your phone is your lifeline.
Right.
In this line of work. You're using it for everything, accepting orders, navigating to the stores, to the deliveries, communicating with customers, tracking your earnings.
Right.
Like a dead battery or a dropped call could mean the difference between a successful day and a really frustrating one.
Yeah.
So it's not just about having a smartphone.
Yeah.
It's about having a smartphone that's ready to hustle.
It's got to be on its A game too.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what are some specific things that shoppers should consider?
Well, first and foremost, make sure your phone is always charged. That's number one.
Right.
Invest in a portable charger.
Okay.
For those long days on the road.
Makes sense.
And then also, consider getting an unlimited data plan.
Oh,
or at least one with a really generous data allowance.
Right.
You don't want to be in the middle of a shop and suddenly lose your connection.
Oh, yeah, that would be a disaster.
Because you've hit your data limit.
That would not be good.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here in this deep dive into the world of Shipt.
Yeah.
We've talked about, the pros and cons,
right.
the strategies for success,
yeah.
and the importance of those human connections, which I think has been really interesting to kind of uncover.
Definitely.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to touch on something you said earlier about Shipt shoppers potentially building their own mini business within the platform.
Well,
that's an interesting concept, right?
Yeah, it is.
Being an entrepreneur within a larger system.
Right, exactly.
What are some of the key things that a Shipt shopper could do to really cultivate that entrepreneurial spirit and really stand out from the crowd?
Yeah, I think it starts with treating your Shipt work as more than just a gig.
Okay.
Think about what makes you unique as a shopper.
Okay.
Maybe you have a knack for selecting the best produce.
Right.
Or you're known for your super fast shopping times.
Okay.
Find your niche, your specialty, what sets you apart from other shoppers.
So it's about finding your Shipt superpower.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what makes you you.
Yeah.
I like it.
And then, leveraging those strengths to build your reputation.
Okay.
Cultivate a loyal customer base. Maybe you come up with a little tagline for yourself that you include in your introductory text message. Something that highlights your unique selling proposition.
Okay. So your friendly neighborhood grocery ninja.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the produce whisperer or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love it.
And then, don't be afraid to go that extra mile.
Yeah.
To personalize the experience for your customers.
Okay.
So maybe you include a handwritten thank you note with their delivery.
Oh, wow.
Or you offer a small bonus item, like a piece of fruit or a sample size product or something.
Those are good ideas.
Yeah.
So it's about creating a brand, an experience,
Yeah.
something that goes beyond just delivering groceries.
Exactly.
It's about making people feel valued and appreciated.
Right.
And who knows, maybe that entrepreneurial spirit could even lead to like bigger things down the road, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like maybe you start offering additional services like meal planning or recipe suggestions.
Right.
Or you build a team of shoppers under your own brand.
Totally. Yeah.
It's like you're planting the seeds for a full-fledged grocery empire.
Yeah.
That's pretty inspiring.
It is.
But for now, let's focus on mastering the art of Shipt shopping.
Right.
And building the solid foundation for success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now let's shift our focus to the customer's perspective.
Right.
Why are so many people choosing to use Shipt in the first place?
That's a great question. You know, it's easy to assume it's all about convenience.
Right.
And that's definitely a big part of it. People are busy. Time is precious.
Yeah.
And having those groceries, delivered straight to your door frees up hours in your week.
Absolutely.
But I think there's more to it than that.
I think so too. What else might be driving this whole trend?
Well, maybe it's about reclaiming those weekend hours that would otherwise be spent like battling crowds at the grocery store. Yeah. Or maybe it's about, avoiding the temptation of those impulse buys.
Oh, yeah.
When you're tired and hungry at the supermarket.
That's so true. I'm definitely guilty of overspending when I'm hungry at the grocery store.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, it's not just about like personal convenience though.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about people with, mobility issues or those who don't have reliable transportation.
Right.
Shipt can be a lifeline for them.
Yeah.
Providing access to those essential groceries.
Yeah.
That they might not otherwise be able to get easily.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
It kind of reframes Shipt as something more than just like a luxury or a time saver.
Right.
It's a service that can truly make a difference in people's lives.
Absolutely.
And that brings us back to the human element of all of this.
Yeah.
Those Shipt shoppers aren't just delivery drivers.
Right.
They're fulfilling a need.
Yeah.
They're connecting with people.
Yeah.
And often going above and beyond to make someone's day a little bit brighter. It's like they're weaving themselves into the fabric of their communities.
Yeah.
Building relationships, one grocery bag at a time.
Yeah, I love that.
That's pretty cool. But speaking of connections, there's one we haven't really touched on yet.
Okay.
The connection between Shipt and Target.
Right.
We know Target owns Shipt.
Yeah.
But how does that relationship actually impact shoppers on a day-to-day basis?
Well, while you will shop at a variety of stores as a Shipt shopper,
Okay.
Target is definitely the flagship.
Gotcha.
So that means, you're likely to see more orders coming from Target.
Okay.
You might even notice like trends or promotions that are specific to, Target brand products.
So it's like being a Shipt shopper, but with a Target focus.
Yeah, kinda.
Okay.
Yeah.
How can shoppers use this to their advantage?
Well, by understanding that Target connection,
Right.
you can kind of anticipate peak times,
Mhm.
and potentially even adjust your shopping strategies. So maybe you focus on Target orders
Okay.
during certain days or times.
Yeah.
When there's like a big sale or promotion happening.
So it's like you're playing the Shipt market,
Yep.
but with Target as your guiding star.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, before we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I wanna circle back to something we discussed earlier.
Okay.
This whole idea of Shipt being a main gig, not just a side hustle.
Right.
What would it take to actually make that leap?
Ooh, that's a big question.
Yeah.
It would definitely require like a different level of commitment and planning.
Okay.
You'd need to treat it like a full-fledged business,
Right.
setting income goals,
Right.
managing your expenses really meticulously,
Okay.
potentially even like investing in things like marketing or additional equipment to streamline your operations.
So like maybe getting a larger vehicle with more cargo space.
Exactly.
Or investing in those like heavy duty insulated bags.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
keep those frozen items perfectly chilled.
Exactly. And then also, think about the time commitment.
Yeah.
Could you consistently put in the hours needed to reach those income goals,
Right.
especially during those peak times we were talking about?
And what about burnout?
All
We
right.
touched on the potential for stress, with multi-apping,
Right.
but even with just Shipt,
Right.
there's a risk of getting overwhelmed, I imagine, if you're doing it day in and day out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Self-care and stress management would be essential.
Okay.
Maybe building in regular breaks,
Right.
setting firm boundaries with your work hours,
Right.
even like finding a shipped buddy
Oh, okay.
to swap tips with and support each other.
So it's like you need a whole support system,
Yeah.
a Shipt therapist, a Shipt accountant,
Right.
a Shipt mechanic to keep your car running smoothly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're making me laugh, but there's truth to that.
All right.
Making shit your main gig would take like serious dedication
Yeah.
and a willingness to learn and adapt as you go.
Right.
And of course, there's legal and financial implications to consider.
Right.
As a full-time independent contractor, we could do a whole other deep dive on that topic alone.
That's true. All right. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here in this deep dive.
So, man.
From the nuts and bolts of how Shipt works to the more like strategic
Right.
and even entrepreneurial aspects of being a successful shopper.
Definitely.
But ultimately, it's up to each individual to decide if Shipt is the right fit for them.
Yeah.
Whether as a side hustle or something more.
For sure.
That's a perfect note to end on, I think. We've given you the information, the insights, hopefully even some inspiration. And now it's up to you to take that knowledge and explore further.
Exactly.
We'll have links to all the resources we used in the show notes, so you can continue your Shipt journey.
Absolutely.
And who knows, maybe you'll even find yourself out there cruising the aisles,
Yeah.
expertly selecting avocados,
Yeah.
and building your own thriving grocery empire.
That's the dream.
That's the dream. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
It's been a fascinating exploration.
Definitely.
Until next time, happy shopping.
And you might even notice like trends or promotions that are specific to, Target brand products.
So it's like being a Shipt shopper, but with a Target focus.
Yeah, kinda.
Okay, how can shoppers use this to their advantage?
Well, by understanding that Target connection,
Okay.
you can kind of anticipate peak times,
Yeah. All right.
and potentially even adjust your shopping strategy. So maybe you focus on Target orders during certain days or times.
Okay.
When there's like a big sale or promotion happening.
So it's like you're playing the Shipt market,
Yeah.
but with Target as your guiding star.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, before we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I wanna circle back to something we discussed earlier.
Okay.
This whole idea of Shipt being a main gig, not just a side hustle.
Right.
What would it take to actually make that leap?
Ooh, that's a big question.
Yeah.
It would definitely require like a different level of commitment and planning.
Okay.
You'd need to treat it like a full-fledged business.
Yeah.
Okay. Setting income goals.
Right.
Managing your expenses really meticulously.
Okay.
Potentially even like investing in things like marketing or additional equipment to streamline your operations.
So like maybe getting a larger vehicle with more cargo space.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or investing in those like heavy duty insulated bags.
Yep.
To keep those frozen items perfectly chilled.
Right. Exactly. And then also, think about the time commitment.
Right.
Could you consistently put in the hours needed to reach those income goals,
Right.
especially during those peak times we were talking about?
And what about burnout?
Right.
We touched on the potential for stress, with multi-apping,
Right.
but even with just Shipt,
Yeah.
there's a risk of getting overwhelmed, I imagine, if you're doing it day in and day out.
Definitely self-care and stress management would be essential.
Okay.
Maybe building in regular breaks,
Right.
setting firm boundaries with your work hours.
Right.
Even like finding a Shipt buddy
Oh, okay.
to swap tips with and support each other.
So it's like you need a whole support system.
Yeah.
A Shipt therapist, a Shipt accountant,
Right.
a Shipt mechanic to keep your car running smoothly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're making me laugh.
Yeah.
But there's truth to that.
Right.
Making Shipt your main gig would take like serious dedication. And a willingness to learn and adapt as you go.
Right.
And of course, there's there's legal and financial implications to consider
Right.
as a full-time independent contractor. We could do a whole other deep dive on that topic alone.
That's true. All right. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here in this deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
You know, from the nuts and bolts of how Shipt works to the more like strategic and even entrepreneurial aspects of being a successful shopper.
Definitely.
But ultimately, it's up to each individual to decide if Shipt is the right fit for them.
Yeah.
Whether as a side hustle or something more.
For sure.
So I guess the big question is Shipt the right hustle for you?
Yeah. It's a good question to ask yourself.
Definitely a lot to think about.
Yeah. A lot of factors to weigh.
But hey, maybe this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
Hopefully.
We'll be sure to include all the resources we mentioned in the show notes.
Yep.
So you can learn even more. And hey, maybe this is the start of your Shipt journey.
You never know.
All right. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Shipt.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Until next time, happy hustling, everyone.